Today I'd like to take a look at the Office Routing Plus add-in that runs inside of Outlook. Our Outlook add-in is our newest routing program, or product I should say. Our other products run in Excel or Word. Our Outlook product will allow for you to route any type of document as well as any number of documents. The Excel and the Word product will only let you route Excel or Word documents and only one document at a time. So one of the strengths of our Outlook product is you can route any type of document and multiple. You see here that we have an ORP Outlook menu that shows up. That's because there's an add-in that's installed on this computer, and so it shows up inside of Outlook. And I'd like to point out that this tool, as well as all of our tools, our Excel and Word product, is a client-only product, meaning that there's no server installation. Even in our Outlook product, you don't have to touch anything on the Outlook Exchange side. So this is a client-only architecture, which is one of the reasons that our products, I believe, are so popular, is because they're very lightweight and quick to install for administrators, and there's no cost on the server side and no administration for managing anything in the server. But they're also very powerful, especially our Outlook product, and you'll see why, because we're running inside of Outlook, so that there's a number of things we can leverage from Outlook for controlling document review. So let's get started, and what I'd like to do is just show a simple routing process from beginning to end without showing all of the options. We'll have other videos that show some other advanced features, but this is just a quick upstart video to introduce the products and get going quickly here. So if I were to click on the new routing message in the drop down, that's going to bring up our main form here. And the first thing that you will typically do is add your recipients for who this message is going to be sent to, and you're going to add those recipients sequentially, assuming that you're doing a sequential review. We do also have the option to add in parallel, to route in parallel, but we'll look at that in a different video. You'll notice here that the status box is showing you that right now you have no routing slip on the message, and it tells you to add a routing slip. You need to click the Add Recipients button. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And you'll notice here that I see manually in my drop down. This is an option that, there's a setting I should say, that will allow you to control the recipients one at a time. Most of our customers, I should point out, would not use this. I'm just using this because I'm not in an Exchange, a native Exchange environment right here on this computer that I'm doing this video from. But normally you would see from global recipient, you'd see from global address book right here instead of manually. And that's going to just show you your organization's global address book, and in that way you can route to anybody in your organization, and you would just see your entire list of recipients the way that you normally do when you go to compose a new Outlook message that's a normal message. You'll see that I have a few saved lists here. I won't cover that in this video, but the concept of saved lists, as you might imagine, is to add some recipients sequentially, and then you can save that list over here using these features over here. And that way you could quickly just select those recipients again, and that saves the list in the order that you had that recipient list saved in, so you don't have to add them back in the same order again on different documents that you're routing out for. So I'm going to select manual in this case, and I'm going to just go ahead and select a few people to route to. So this has to go in this order, first to Fred in this case, and then to Nancy. And notice when I hit OK that if I come back here, it shows now in this main routing grid here that it's going to go first to Fred and then to Nancy. And notice when I hit Add Slip now, because up here it tells me that I had to add recipients and then click Add Slip, that's going to give me a message. And notice at the bottom here, it now has added for me a placeholder that tells me that the last route, if you will be to come back to the initiator. This is our to column, and it's going to come from whoever the final recipient is. So in this case, it would be Nancy, but we just say final recipient here because Nancy or Fred could optionally add a new recipient to this list if they chose to do so. And then it wouldn't necessarily be coming from Nancy. But the idea here is that we want to make sure that the initiator knows that they don't have to add themselves to the list of recipients at the end because the system knows that the last recipient is always you, the initiator. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put in a subject here. I'm just going to say please review. And that subject will be seen in the subject of the message that goes out to Fred. It will also be seen by Nancy as the same subject on the message, the Outlook message that she receives, unless Fred decides to change the subject in the text, in the routing message that he gets. I can also add a comment here, and same concept. This is going to show up in the Outlook message itself. In this case, it's going to show up in the body of the email that goes out. Just going to type in a quick message here. Hit add comments. All comments are reviewable under this comments tab here. So as each person adds different comments, if they choose to change the comment or add to the initial comment that the initiator put on, then those comments will be captured in the comment history here on this tab. The next thing that you will likely do is add a file or multiple files for review. So we'll go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to select a marketing budget plan in this case, and it's an Excel file, and I'm only going to add one file, but you could add any number of files here, and again, any type of document. And that will show up in the message that's sent out for review. The Advanced tab gives the initiator a few additional options on the message that's about to be sent out. And I won't go into depth on these, but I'll just quickly touch base on each one. This option over here is where we're going to select whether this will be a sequential approval or routing in parallel. And if we leave it on one after another, then that's your sequential review. This option here is asking when do we want the file itself or any files that are attached for review to be sent back to the initiator. And the default option is only when done, meaning only when the routing process gets to the very end do I want the file itself to be sent back to me. I could say at each step, and that leads us to this setting over here, which typically is always going to be on, called track status. And track status is going to send a message to the initiator anytime that a person downstream from himself or herself routes the message to the next person. And so that email will come through, and that will have the tracking information on the email. We'll take a look at that shortly. And that also can be more quickly found on this tab, which we'll also look at, the History and Status Tracking tab. But I want to get back to this option here, the Add Each Step. And that works in conjunction with the track status option in this way. If I choose at each step as my updated file setting, then what that means is every time I have that status message sent to me that shows the status of the overall routing process, I could optionally have the file itself or files sent along with that status message. And what this allows for is the initiator to see any changes that have been made to the files at each step, rather than just getting it back at the end in case the initiator wants to interject and say that there's a problem with this change, or just to be in the loop on what changes are being made to the file. I'm going to leave this at only when done. These flags down here allow you to control the due dates and reminders for the message. And the concept here is any message that gets sent out, we can have an actual due date on the message that will show up just like a normal Outlook message can have a due date assigned to it. And it also can have a reminder pop-up. And the way that we control this, since we're in a routing process here where we don't know when each person might receive the document, because that depends on the person in front of them and when they approved it to the next person, this is controlled in offsets after reception. So if you read through this, that will give you an idea, and you can look at our help manual online as well to get a better idea here. And these are just some options down here. You could send a message out on delay, and you could ask for read receipt as well. That pretty much covers it at a high level. And so I'm going to go ahead and route this to next, or in this case to the first recipient. I can do that from the Files to Review tab, or I can also do it from the Routing Slip main tab here. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit Route to Next, and that's going to be sent off to Fred. And then we'll take a look in a moment at the other side here where Fred's going to receive this and take a look at the message and the files that were sent to him, and then he can go ahead and choose to route that on to Nancy.